Okay, in this video, I want to talk a little bit about the ZBrush interface menus, and of course, the main intimidating aspect of ZBrush is the amount of menu options that are just instantly available to you. It's a little bit daunting because, to be honest, most of these things you'll never use. I mean, I don't use a lot of these functions myself. I could just maybe customize this interface and actually remove most of these buttons if I didn't want to look at them. The problem with customizing an interface, like especially immediately, is that if you work in a different place from where you're learning and your laptop, and if they're not all consistent, you'll get lost. So I find that I like to customize my interface, but my screen is so large that it doesn't even bother me to have all these extra buttons taken out. And then in this case here where I'm teaching it, I want to have the same menu items available as what you're looking at. But definitely customizing is an option, and I do have a user customized interface that I like to use sometimes. It's a lot more streamlined than this thing is. But for now, let's just leave things the way they are, and let's just focus on a few things that we're going to use actually for a while. Like if you notice, when you start up, you have this tool menu on the right side there. If you click on the if it's not already expanded and you click on the name, so here I'm clicking on tool, you'll expand the menu. This will be there already. And just to kind of explain the way ZBrush works with this interface is that you have these sidebars that you can double click and expand. So if you wanted to increase your work area, then you can double click and hide the active toolbar. You can also click on the name to expand or collapse these menus. And I can also stack. So if I want to bring in something like Z plugins and I click on this round arrow icon and click drag it, I could add this to my menu here. And so this is where, you know, collapsing and expanding comes in handy, because you might have, say, a bunch of these menus, and at any point you want to open them up. And this is really cool actually, because when you're working on some other features, you might just want that menu here on this right side available to you. But like I said, for a while we'll just be using the tool menu. So I'm going to click these to remove them. I'm clicking this round arrow icon here, and let's work our way over to the left side of the screen, and you'll notice that there's this double arrow again, and you can double click and expand that. So here's a menu, same deal. We can show and hide, and also delete. Well, you're not really deleting, you're just removing it from the sidebar, but the menu is always available to you here on the top. So at any point you can click on one of these menus and just drag it over. And if you notice at the bottom, they also have a shelf here available to you. Now this comes in really handy when you're making your custom interface and you want to drag in a bunch of brushes down here that you may use quite often, or however you'd like to set it up. And all these items can be removed or added or moved around however you'd like. But like I said, for a while we'll just leave it the way it is and work with that. And here I'll expand this tool menu. Now one of the things is that I don't really get into right away, which I'm going to change that right now, is that I'll show you how to save a document right now. The reason why I don't get into that right away is because for a while we shouldn't really be concerned with saving things, and because we're learning, and we don't want to get too attached to anything right now, because the idea is just to understand the interface. And but yeah, let's say we start making something and we do like it and we want to save it. What we want to always do is save through the tool menu. Now your instinct might tell you to go to File, Save As, because most programs work that way. And of course you can go to File, Save As, And if you notice, what comes up here is a Z project, ZPR extension. Now the Z project is not what we're interested in saving at the moment, because Z project saves a lot of different things that you really don't need right now. So I'm telling you that right now because these files are heavy, and for something that you're working on and learning, you're not really that invested in it. A Z project is not really appropriate at this point. But what is always appropriate is a Z tool, ZTL. So if I go to, and once again, if I just concentrate on this menu here on the right, the tool menu, and I use my save as, we'll notice here that the extension is ZTL, Z tool. Now this saves everything you need. I mean, to this day, will only save Z tools. It's rare that I save a ZPR, Z project. But to be honest, it's good to save both because you know, you never know, files can get corrupt, and it's always nice to have a backup. But the Z tool is a smaller file size. It has all the information you need. I'll just cancel that right now. And let's say we did save the Z tool somewhere like on the desktop, and we wanted to open that file. All we'll do is go to Load Tool, and then we can find the Z tool, and I'll just open up something I find here just so you can see what happens. Here we have the Z tool. So if you stick with this menu right here, the tool menu, the one that is at the startup, and just maintain your file, like as far as opening and saving in this menu, you'll be okay. Let me just warn you let me show you what happens when you don't stick to that, because I've seen this mistake happen over and over. So here is a dog file that someone has made, or Zbrush is nice enough to provide. It's a great file. This has no subdivision levels, but I'll make a few. I'll just hit Control D a couple of times. I'm going to Shift F to show you the density, and Shift D will go down. I'm going to go over all this. Don't really worry about this right now. We're just talking about saving documents. So here I go up and down, so I have multiple subdivision levels. So now this project file is a little bit more complicated than one OBJ model. And now it has multiple subdivision levels. So when you save a Z tool, it will save that information. And a Z project will as well. But some people will go over to Document and choose Save As, and then they'll save the document. So I'll do that. I'll save the document, leave it on the desktop. I'll call it dog. Okay, great. I saved my document, right? And here, notice that we quickly went out of edit mode, so we have this dead pixel dog right here. So I'm going to Control N that to get rid of it. And so we have our 3D object. And let's say I'm like, you know what? I closed it out, and I want to go open that document. I'm going to go to Document, Open, and it tells you document has been changed. Would you like to save changes? I'll hit no. It's okay. I'm going to find dog, open it up, and oh great, here's my dog, and I go and I start to drag, and this is what happens. What's happening is that there's nothing happening. I'm just dragging the star of the geometry that I'm currently in, and all of a sudden my dog is not a 3D object anymore. I'm going to hit Control N, and you'll see that everything disappears. And then I go and I drag again, and I was like, where's my dog? So what a document is, it's basically just a picture of your model. It's not the actual model. So I've had people devastated by this because they've worked so hard making an object with multiple subdivision levels, a lot of time and effort in, and then they go and save a document. And basically what you're doing is you're just saving a picture, a snapshot of this model, not the actual model. So file, save as, and document, save as are completely different things, and it can be a little confusing to even go near this area. So I would say stay away from all this and choose save as in the tool menu. And this just makes things a whole lot easier because you're just looking at this one menu that, once again, we're going to be using for some time. We're not going to deviate from this for a while. This is always going to be open, and we will add using these other menus and some hotkeys, but this is the main menu here. So just stick to Save As and Load Tool and you'll be alright. And you know, when we get to the point where we start exporting OBJs, then we'll do that here as well. You have export and import. So Tool menu is what we'll be using, and Save As and Load Tool is what you'll use to load and save your tool. So that's it for the tool menu right now, and we'll get back to that.